sometimes you do hear this pushback that, investing is just like gambling and gambling is bad, so therefore I should not be doing this.
The distinction in my mind for investing versus gambling is the true intent purpose of either of the activities. And I think with gambling, it should be geared more towards like the entertainment piece as opposed to a means of provision for your family.
If the purpose of money is just to make more money, then gambling and investing could be seen as equals because there's a chance that you get more money out of it, but there's also a chance that you lose money from it. But if you see, to your point, gambling is more for entertainment.
It should be.
If at all, if you're doing it at all. Whereas investing is you've been given this capital that's we believe is meant to be put to good use. Then the intent of that isn't to make money, it is to make the most out of what you have been given, what's being entrusted to you.
So why does gambling even have a negative connotation, right? I don't think on its own, inherently, it's always or has to be a bad thing. But it's when people lose sight of what's this for.
Welcome to the Ord Life Podcast.
What's your opinion on the electric ride-on scooters or the electric bikes?
They go fast.
I'll go really
like
fast.
As like little kids, and they like it's cool because I remember the time when we could go on our bikes and like leave for the afternoon. Dad, Mom, I'm leaving for the day. After school, I'll see you around dinner time. And there's an element of the joy of freedom of play, building relationships with your friends. But it's so fast that they whir around everywhere, and they don't usually wear helmets. So I can imagine.
Well, it's not fast enough to be on the road.
Yeah, it's fast enough to
But
get
it's
yourself in
too
trouble.
fast to be on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Crashing in, or the risk of crashing into people walking is. Yeah, I'm sure people are getting really hurt walking into those or being crashed into by an electric scooter. Yeah, but our policy is no electric ride-on toys. I mean, they're young, so it's easy.
How are you supposed to make one of the kids a future F1 driver, given your love of Formula One?
Well, we'll go karting.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm totally in, by the way.
For go-karts?
Yeah.
We start having a quarterly.
We need
event.
a corporate go-kart sponsorship that we got to work
Honestly, yeah.
towards.
Yeah.
We can sponsor one of your kids.
Yeah, no, they will not be professional go-kart riders. I cannot afford it. Or aspiring go-kart riders, I should say. Yeah. Then, so our policy is, if you're going to have something with wheels, it's human power. You got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to get some exercise.
So it's basically a bike, like a foot pedal scooter.
Rollerblades.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I haven't seen rollerblades in forever. Did you
No.
rollerblade when you were a kid?
No, we had a set of rollerblades, and sometimes I'd like shoot the hockey puck around our garage
Okay.
on the rollerblades, but never outside of our property.
Was rollerblades popularized back in the 90s? I just think of Luke Robitaille.
Yeah, I think like late 90s, early 2000s, that's when
Yeah.
my parents got them, and I've never seen them catch up since.
Yeah.
There's a local fellow who rollerblades is his primary mode of transportation
Really?
in the area. Yeah.
He's got local notoriety amongst commuters then.
He must. Yeah. I guess the reason he stands out like a sore thumb is that nobody else is rollerblading.
Did you guys ever? I'm speaking of my era, but like the four-wheeled rollerblades used to be like roller rinks. There used to be one out here.
Those are like roller skates, I think.
Yes, roller
Right?
skates.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And the roller derbies and the roller
I
rinks.
still think
It
they
was
have a
big
roller
thing.
derby like in Vancouver. I want to say.
I think there is.
PNA.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the WWE of
Yeah.
roller
No,
skating.
the only ones I ever used were the roller blades with the inline.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen people able to stop like ice skates with the rollerblades?
Like on the side, like where they're.
yeah,
Wow.
going
Oh.
sideways. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay, so I think like high level rollerblade hockey, which does exist, they don't have brakes on the back.
Yeah. Wow.
I tried this once.
Oh my.
that sounds painful.
Yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah.
There was no sliding, just rolling and just like 360, 720 up in the air.
Oh,
and
yeah.
falling on my back.
Land on your feet, hopefully.
It's one of those things where you see it and you think, this looks easy, and I'm going to go do it. As a child, there was quite a few times something like that had happened. I can't think of another example, but yeah, where it did not end well. Yeah. Look, actually, the kids, they do ask to go rollerblading. And we do not have rollerblades, and I have no desire to get them rollerblades because I remember learning to rollerblade was a very painful process.
Although when you fall, hurts a lot less as a kid versus
That's true.
an adult.
But learning ice skating is much better because first of all, you're all covered, and when you fall, you slide, as opposed to when you fall on the asphalt, you scrape.
Yeah.
Yes, true. And you can get all this padding, like in hockey attire. I'm sure to basically cushion the fall.
Yeah, like snow
butt
pants,
pants or
heavy
something like that.
jacket. It doesn't hurt that much when you fall on the ice.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you still play hockey?
Yep. Yeah. Every now and again, we'll go with some friends to an ice rink, play on the mini rink. It's a lot of fun. I think it's still my favorite sport. Yeah. It's amazing.
Were you a forward? Were you like a goalie? What was your position?
I started off on defense.
Okay.
Mostly because I didn't like defense, but I thought that if
You'd be another Tyler Myers given your stature.
you think, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a compliment, AJ.
I don't know who that is at all.
Defenseman on the Canucks.
Yeah.
He's got presence, but he's got it's a mixed review.
Yeah. Started off on defense, and then because I thought if you play well on defense, then you get put up to forward because forward is better. But then I was the best defenseman, so they kept me on defense. This is like grade 1, grade 2 hockey. And then they moved me up to left wing eventually because I did not like defense at all. And that was a lot of fun. Just like house league, but yeah, you learn the basics of stuff. Looking back at it, our entire house team was all decently good players whose parents knew that none of us were going to make the league. So they just put us all in house, and somehow we all ended up on the same team. So I don't think we lost many games. And yeah, maybe they could have done a better job of equalizing it, but it was a lot of fun. For our development, it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah, it's fun to win.
yeah.
Oh, totally
Yeah.
fun to win.
Yeah.
Really keeps you excited about the sport.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You look forward to it. But
Okay, what are we talking about today? We're talking about the difference between gambling and investing. So I'll just set the stage. So we think investing is a good thing, right? When you put your savings to good, productive use, it enriches people's lives. It improves standards of living. It makes the world a better place to live. It can be a conduit for human creativity and in ingenuity. And these are all good things. But sometimes you do hear this pushback that, investing is just like gambling and gambling is bad, so therefore I should not be doing this. And there are some similarities between investing and gambling. So it's not completely off the mark, right? They both share the qualities that they can be risky, that they deal with an uncertain future. There's the possibility of financial gain or loss. There's possibility of making very poor decisions. But that's where the similarities end. This is before I go into it. Any comments there?
Well, I also think of, and in our kind of discussion of bringing this topic to our podcast, is that the distinction in my mind for investing versus gambling is the true intent purpose of either of the activities. And I think with gambling, it should be geared more towards like the entertainment piece as opposed to a means of provision for your family. And I think that's a clear distinction. Also, the information utilized in the gambling process, it's more like a hope that things work out well, but have very limited to no information in terms of influencing the general outcome.
yeah, I'd agree, especially with your point about intent. Like, if you view money as just a means of, if the purpose of money is just to make more money, then gambling and investing could be seen as equals because there's a chance that you get more money out of it, but there's also a chance that you lose money from it. But if you see, to your point, gambling is more of, well, it should be for entertainment.
It should be.
If at all, if you're doing it at all. Whereas investing is you've been given this capital that's, we believe, is meant to be put to good use. Then the intent of that isn't to make money. It is to make the most out of what you have been given, what's being entrusted to you. So they're very different in that aspect. And I think, yeah, it comes down to how do you view money in the first place? Is it just meant for making more of it? In which case, yeah, maybe you're going to be tempted to see investing and gambling as the same thing. Or do you see money as something that is meant to be put to good use, in which case investing is actually something that you could argue you should be doing, be it investing in a cause that you enjoy through philanthropy or into a business that you think is doing well and solving some interesting problem in the world, whereas gambling really is just a means of making more money for the sake of making more money.
Yeah, it's more of the focal point of just generating money as
Exactly.
opposed to like what's the intent and the good intentions with money.
Yeah.
I also think of too is within the gambling component is the typical absence of reason
Yeah.
versus the investing process.
So hold on.
Okay.
You're front running it. Okay.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
So I've got a whole system I figured out to distinguish these two things.
Okay.
So I think on 4 aspects you can distinguish them, and they are quite different. And that is timeline, number of outcomes, payoff profile, and probabilities. So what you're referring to is we'll start at the end since you brought it up.
Okay,
right?
fair.
So with
Feel free to-
our ability to use reason and rationality to influence or to have some perspective on the outcomes. So with gambling, if you go gambling in a casino, the probabilities are defined against you. Like by definition, that's what's programmed into the slot machine.
Right.
Or if you're playing the Lotto Max, your chances are 1 in 100 million, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
Blackjack,
the chances,
the house always wins.
right? So the odds are against you, as opposed to investing. Often, not always, but often, the odds can be in your favor to a small degree or significantly in your favor of a positive outcome.
Yeah. Well, even just thinking instead of like a zero-sum game, well, in gambling you have a negative-sum game because the house always wins. That's the reason why we have casinos in the first place. If they weren't going to be adequately compensated on a massive scale, right, not on a sample size of 10 or 100, even 1,000, like you have to go probably into like the tens of thousands for that to be statistically relevant, you wouldn't have casinos. Whereas in the market, because you have things like the risk-free rate, like government bonds that are basically, that shouldn't default, you have a market sum game, which means the market is going a certain direction, and that direction is typically positive, even if you're risk-averse. If you're the most risk-averse, then it is very positive, just very small. But it is a market sum game, which is by and large and historically positive.
That's right. Yeah. So even if you figure out like, okay, so Lotto Max, I'm going to win $500 million. Or I guess in
50.
that.
Call
50.
50.
They're 50 million.
Yeah.
And what are the odds of winning? It's a negative sum.
Yeah.
Right. It's a negative outcome or negative probability weighted outcome. Whereas investing is not. It comes to a market sum. It's not a zero sum. It's a market sum. All of the different decisions by all of the different investors in the world, they don't add up to zero. They add up to the market return, which is more often than not like 3 to 1 more often than not positive. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is the nature of the payoff profile. So in gambling, it's win or lose. It's binary. There's only 2 outcomes. Lose everything and the bet that you made, or win the bet and it's, whatever the odds are, double, triple, something. There's nothing in between. Whereas investing, there are many outcomes in the middle, right? You can make a poor investment and it's down 10%, or it's down 15, or it's down 5. You can make a poor investment that underperformed the market and it's only up 5 relative to having, the market return, which is 15. Or you outperform, right? And there's like degrees by which you can do better or worse. So the range of outcomes, it's technically infinite because you can, have an infinite number of outcomes, positive or negative. But even making a poor decision, even making a bad investment, and even coming out with a loss often means you only lose a small portion, right? Very rarely is there a complete and total loss of a bankrupt business or whatever it is. Not that it can't happen, but the profile of when you win, what are those gains like, and when you lose, what are those losses like, is significantly different than gambling.
So just a comment there. I also think too, from the gambling perspective, And I think you're right, in which there is a binary outcome. Either you win or you lose. There's an element of emotion that can come into play in which people get drawn into the gambling experience. Is because like there's these dopamine hits, especially if you quote unquote win, maybe for that day or as opposed to the overall outcome. But that emotional pull can draw people in, and you suspend reason, as opposed to the outcomes that are possible by more rational investing. Given that there's many different potential outcomes, a reason can still exist to exit when things aren't working out exactly as intended, and not have like the binary outcome of like losing everything.
Yeah, and it's interesting because going back to the idea of, because someone could argue, well, what if you have like a gambling portfolio, right? And then you have a much wider range of possible outcomes, but you're still up against a negative sum environment. So run that experiment however many times you want, even if you have, I don't know, call it $50 in a government bond, another 50 just in a gambling portfolio of sports bets or whatever it is, because the house always wins. Yes, you can go up a certain amount, but then at some point, because the house always wins, odds are you're going to come down a certain amount. Whereas just
or even that maybe for one particular person that could be true.
Yeah.
But for the other person on the other side of the bet,
exactly,
they've lost.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, like, I've heard stories of people who have gone into casinos and they've been up some stupid high amount, and then they lose everything. Like, people who have gone in with, like, I don't know, call it $1,000, and they've gone up to 20, and they lose everything. And everyone's like, why didn't they get out? And it's like, well, because they're not in there to make money. They're in it, to AJ, to your point, for the fun of it, right? But that mentality that got them up to 20,000, which is
also the mentality that kept them in.
Exactly,
all
which
the way
kept them in
down.
and brought them down.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference when it comes to the negative sum game of gambling, where the house always wins, because otherwise why would they be providing that intermediary service, versus the market, which is a market sum game and historically typically positive. I think there's a very interesting but simple point to be made there in terms of where you're eventually going to end up, just statistically, if you're passively in those markets.
I like the content. What you had presented is like the element of that house edge, and there's, of course, the house has to have an edge to make it profitable for them, and it's programmed. And I think of like within the slot machines, like taking some psychology classes back in university days is like they also know
Humble
how.
brag.
My bad. It wasn't intended that way.
Look at you, Mr. No, just kidding.
But I mean, they know this, and they program into the machines of basically when to entice you to
It's-
stay playing.
It's pretty interesting when you actually like watch some videos.
to
and stuff
win
on that.
just enough to keep
Yeah.
you
To keep it
in.
playing, yes.
Yeah. I think was it Brain Games that did an episode on that with National Geographic? It's crazy because in the past it was like, oh, if you give them like a win early on and then whatever, but now the algorithms they have
Yes.
for sorting out like you're going to lose this many times before you win a little bit, and like I'll be honest, it's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kind of scary when you think of what's actually
Well,
going
okay, another application, and this is a total tangent. Another application of that same sort of concept is I was listening to the chief technology officer for Duolingo. Do you know what
Okay,
Duolingo
yeah,
is?
Yeah.
And so they have the same issue where they need to challenge people so that they can advance their level of language.
Right?
But if it's too challenging,
Then they want to exit altogether.
yeah, you lose motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
So it has to be just challenging enough to advance your skills, but that you have to be able to get the answers right often enough to keep you like positive and confident and able
Yeah,
to go.
interesting.
And it's the same sort of algorithm that goes into that, but for like better reasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is cool.
Okay, my next point of distinction, and it's kind of nuanced. It's similar to the previous one, but it is subtly different, is the number of possible outcomes. So gambling, binary. You're right or you're wrong. You win or you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Investing is completely different because there are many possible futures of variety of outcomes where you can do well. And so what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say you have this well-crafted investment thesis about a company, why you think it's cheap and the fundamentals are going to improve and why you think it's a good investment. You can be completely wrong and still do well, right? The company can do well for totally different reasons, right? Just because the economy improved. And actually your company maybe even have relatively deteriorated compared to its competitors, but actually all rising tide lifted all boats and you just happened to be right anyway, right? Or a company can, let's say revenue falls, but they found more expenses to cut. right? So even though the business actually, the outlook deteriorated, they still were able to hang in and do fine. Or interest rates fell, so valuations came up. So there are so many ways you can be right without actually having to be right, like that you can come out with a positive outcome.
I suppose as well, you also have an argument where you're not betting on a single event. You're betting on, or not even betting on, but you get a series of events that can help your investment thesis be right. Like I'm thinking of a sports bet where you have one game for that bet to come off as right. Or a blackjack game where you have, or poker hand, you have one event when you either double or lose, and that's like your binary situation. But in the market, each day new information is coming out with interest rates, with what the company's doing, with earnings, with something's happening in a foreign country that's going to affect whatever. So you have so many different events that end up either being in your favor or against your favor, but you have that over time. So you're not just betting on a single event that you have a lot less control over.
Yeah. And Anthony's front running my last point. So it's timeline. No, it's great.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking timeline more in terms of like why you would gamble. You want something right now.
Yeah.
Why
So
would you invest?
so what is the timeline for a bet? It's immediate. It's a
Yeah.
singular event.
Right.
Right or wrong, win or lose.
The immediacy of the payout is like now, as opposed to the patience attributed.
Yeah. And I thought you more so we're speaking to the patience of what is my time horizon.
Yeah.
Of
Exactly.
me wanting this money.
Yeah. So
which again, I think goes back to AJ's point. It's like, if you're gambling, it should be for entertainment because it's just happening right now.
Yeah. So timeline for investing can be like, it can be days or weeks or months, like, but years. It should be years. And the beauty of a long time horizon and many events and many sources of information that can come out is that you don't even have to be right away. You just have to be right eventually.
Yeah.
And
Which is definitely not like a sunk cost fallacy that we're trying to get into. But
often it just takes patience for things to work out. Like, I think this company's going to turn around. Next quarter comes out and I haven't turned around. I'm like, I think they're still going to turn around, but it might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarters down the line. And often, like things are so perpetually cyclical that you don't even have to be extremely smart or have a great thesis. You just have to be patient, and things almost, I wouldn't say inevitably, often, very often, things turn around on their own. And so, yeah, though they do share some similarities, I do have the opinion that gambling and investing are very different.
Yeah.
However, a person can use capital markets to gamble. And a person can take a gambling type event, and I think they can make it not gambling. What do I mean by that? Poker, right? Where you're not playing against the house, you're playing against other people. If you have skill, you can turn the odds in your favor, right? And it's not just one bet, it's like a series of bets. So, or horse racing, right? You watch the practice times, you went and looked at all the horses. Like, there are things a person can do with what are traditionally considered gambling events that can actually skew the odds in their favor.
Right.
And make it less like going to a casino where you have a negative sum.
Or you're applying an analysis of sorts.
Right.
By following the train, like in the horse realm, following the trainer, following the horse itself, its past history, its nutrition, and attributes of that may not be normally available to the average person who's, I guess, gambling on a horse. That can be used to make a more educated decision. But for the most part, in terms of the gambling endeavor, it's like, I'm walking in blind. I have this feeling it's going to be in my favor.
Yeah. So why does gambling even have a negative connotation, right? I don't think on its own, inherently, it's always or has to be a bad thing. But it's when people lose sight of what's this for. And it's, as you say, AJ, it's for entertainment. And if you know it's for entertainment, and you know you have a negative sum, and you are able to limit yourself, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it's when people have the wrong expectation or the incorrect assumption of what they're doing. They think they're actually going to be making money, right? Like, oh, I'm treating this like work or something, that I'm going to come out ahead. And then you have the incorrect view of what you're doing. That's when it's bad. And that's when people fall into horrible life-altering circumstances. And so it definitely can be a really terrible thing that like actually destroys families and finances and everything. But also not, and on the flip side, to be aware of when a person thinks that they're investing and they're using capital markets and they think they're using their reason, but they actually don't know what they're doing. And they have no idea what the probabilities are. And they don't know what to look for in a good investment.
Because they're essentially applying the gambling habits within capital markets.
Exactly, yeah. And now they think they're doing something that can be good, but actually they're not.
Right.
And so that's when people get into trouble, when they think they're doing one thing, but in reality they're doing something else. And even in the investing world, so you could say the investing equivalent of gambling is more like speculation. And what I generally say is the poison is in the dose. So it's not that it's always bad, always to be avoided, but it's to recognize that what you're doing is highly speculative, that it does come with a binary outcome, that the probabilities are the probabilities of a negative outcome are high, the probabilities of a positive outcome are low. And if you know that's what you're doing, and you allocate accordingly, meaning you keep it very small relative to your, available investable assets, it doesn't have to be bad. But as long as you recognize that this is what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing, I know I'm probably going to lose, and the amount I have put towards this, I can afford to lose.
Right. Yeah. It's money you can afford to lose. Also knowing that this allocation is small, it would hurt if you lose it, but not detrimental overall is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it doesn't impact the financial plan in any significant way. You understand this is probably more for entertainment than it is a prudent financial decision.
It's an educated understanding of risk.
Right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Anything else to add?
No, I'm all out.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony.
I'm Sean.
I'm AJ.
Have a good day.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, AJ Sanson, and Anthony De Lazari, who are associate investment advisors for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisors only, and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.